I want to tell you about two women who grew up in the same town, went to the same high school, and landed jobs with almost identical salaries right out of college. Both of them worked hard, both of them were smart, both of them thought they were doing okay with money. By the time they turned 55, one of them had $940,000 invested and was planning her early retirement. The other had $38,000 in a savings account, $14,000 in credit card debt, and was quietly terrified about how she was going to survive once she stopped working. Same starting point, completely different destination, and the gap between them had nothing to do with luck, inheritance, or some miraculous investment. It came down to 7 specific money habits that one of them practiced without even realizing it, and 7 traps the other one kept falling into, year after year, for 3 decades. I studied this exact pattern across dozens of real American households while building content for this channel, and I kept finding the same story, different names, different cities, same ending. The habits that quietly drain wealth are almost invisible while they're happening. That's what makes them so dangerous. So today on Liana Invests, we are breaking all 7 of them open. And if even one of these hits close to home, the fact that you're watching this right now means you still have time to change it. The first habit that keeps average Americans broke is spending right up to the edge of whatever they earn. Not slightly over, not dramatically over, just right up to the edge, every single month. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it is the single most common wealth killer I found in my research. Here is how it works in real life. You get a raise. Within 90 days, your monthly expenses have mysteriously increased by roughly the same amount as the raise. You get a bonus. It disappears into a vacation, a furniture upgrade, or a dozen smaller purchases you can barely remember a year later. You move to a better apartment. You lease a nicer car. You start eating out more because you feel like you've earned it. None of these decisions feel reckless in the moment. Every single one of them feels justified. But what actually happened is that you traded every future dollar your raise could have generated for a slightly more expensive version of the same month. The Bureau of Economic Analysis reported that the U.S. personal savings rate in early 2026 sits around just 4%. That means for every dollar Americans take home after taxes, 96 cents leaves. On a $60,000 after-tax income, people are keeping roughly $2,400 a year. Meanwhile, research consistently shows that financially independent Americans save and invest between 15 and 25% of their income, sometimes more. The woman in my story who retired early never earned dramatically more than her counterpart. What she did differently was decide, early on, that her lifestyle was not allowed to grow every time her paycheck did. She lived on 75% of her income in her 30s when everyone around her was upgrading everything. That 25% gap compounded for 25 years and turned into a retirement. The second habit is one that shocks me every time I bring it up. Most Americans have never sat down and calculated their actual net worth, not once. They track their income. They check their bank balance. But they have never added up everything they own, subtracted everything they owe, and looked at the real number. Net worth is assets minus liabilities. Your checking account, savings, investments, retirement accounts, and home equity on one side. Your mortgage balance, car loan, student loans, credit cards, and personal loans on the other. The number you get is your financial scoreboard, and most Americans are playing a game without ever looking at the score. Data from Empower published in early 2026 shows that the median net worth for Americans in their 50s is around $180,000. That is the midpoint. Half of all people who have been working for 3 decades have less than $180,000 to their name, and a significant portion of that group has no idea because they have never actually checked. Wealthy Americans, by contrast, track their net worth obsessively, monthly, sometimes more often. They treat it the way an athlete treats their performance stats. When the number stagnates, they investigate. When it drops, they respond. When it grows, they reinvest. The number creates accountability. Without the number, there is nothing pushing you to change. I want you to do something after this video ends. Open a spreadsheet or even just a piece of paper, write down every asset and every debt you have, do the math, and whatever number comes out, whether it makes you proud or makes your stomach drop, that number is the most important financial data point in your life, and knowing it is the beginning of changing it. The third habit is a mindset one, and it is deeply cultural in America. The average American treats debt like weather, something that just exists, something you manage around, not something you eliminate. The New York Federal Reserve reported that total U.S. household debt crossed $18.8 trillion at the end of 2025. Credit card balances alone surpassed $1.28 trillion. The average American carries roughly $6,500 in revolving credit card debt at an interest rate hovering around 22% APR. Here is the number that should make you stop for a second. If you carry a $6,500 credit card balance and only make minimum payments, you will pay back well over $15,000 by the time it is gone, and that $8,500 difference in interest is money that could have been invested, growing quietly in the background, building the kind of wealth that eventually replaces your paycheck. Financially independent Americans do not treat debt as normal. They treat it as a financial emergency, not a lifestyle feature. Every dollar they owe is a dollar working against them instead of for them. They calculate the real cost of debt in opportunity dollars, not just interest dollars. A $30,000 car loan at 7% over 60 months costs you roughly $5,600 in interest, but that $5,600 invested at 8% over 20 years becomes approximately $26,000, so the car does not cost $30,000, it costs $30,000 plus $26,000 in future wealth. And when you start reading price tags in both present and future dollars simultaneously, your tolerance for unnecessary debt drops dramatically. Number 4 is one of the most expensive mistakes I see, and it costs people hundreds of thousands of dollars over their working lives without them ever feeling it leave. Millions of Americans are not using their tax-advantaged retirement accounts anywhere near their legal limits, and some are not using them at all. In 2026, you can contribute up to $24,500 to a 401k, and if you are 50 or older, that limit jumps to $32,500 with catch-up contributions. Every dollar you put in a traditional 401k reduces your taxable income by that same dollar. On a $70,000 salary in the 22% federal bracket, contributing $10,000 to your 401k saves you $2,200 in taxes that year alone, and that is money the IRS was going to take that instead stays inside an account compounding for decades. And if your employer offers a match, not taking the full match is the equivalent of turning down free money. A 50 to 100% instant return on your contribution before the market has done anything at all. Roth IRAs are the other vehicle that financially independent Americans quietly obsess over. In 2026 you can contribute up to $7,500, or $8,600 if you are 50 or older, and every dollar of growth and every dollar you withdraw in retirement comes out completely tax-free. On a portfolio that grows to $500,000 over 30 years, the tax savings during retirement can exceed $100,000 depending on your bracket. The Ramsey Solutions study of self-made millionaires found that teachers, engineers, and accountants dominated the list, not executives, not Wall Street traders, people with ordinary incomes who used the 401k, the Roth IRA, and the HSA consistently and maximally for decades. The accounts were always there. The match was always available. Most people just never prioritized using them. We'll continue this tomorrow with the next part of the 7 money traps, so I'll see you then. And if you're not already subscribed to Liana Invests, hit subscribe right now so you don't miss it. We post every single day, and each video gives you another piece of the financial roadmap most of us were never taught growing up.